Welcome back, guys, to Better Odds Sports Betting. This is Kyle Hunter, and I'm joined, as always, by Kiev O'Neill, co-hosts here today. We're going to talk the NFL draft, right? It's been a little while, Kiev. How you been?
Oh, I've been great, man. I was probably since the NCAA tournament, and
Yeah.
amazing for Baylor. I did win some brackets on that at least, and well, place some brackets too. They were always my pick, and I got nervous throughout the tournament, like anybody else, with Gonzaga there. And Gonzaga just had that rough game against UCLA, and I'm not even sure if they played again if Gonzaga would lose. I think if they played 100 times, one would win 50 games, and the other one would win 50 games. It was a great tournament. I enjoyed it a lot. I really wish that I took the first half over for Baylor, so that was the right call at least. But there wasn't a lot of value. I thought in Baylor was a little bit low, and people were thinking Gonzaga was 7 points better than every team, and now I wish I would have stuck to my guns, but at least got the team total there. So I had a good time watching it. But otherwise, been great. And the NFL draft is here. I didn't put on draft day or anything, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching it right now.
Yeah, definitely. And, there's been some news here breaking today, Kiev. I have to say, I've been a little bit unplugged today. The power's been out here for over 6 hours today. So
Yeah.
a little bit unplugged and picking up the kids and, just trying to get stuff done around here. I have to say, you appreciate electricity a little bit more when you go without it for that long. It's you really need it, that's for sure. But I come back to find that Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play in Green Bay. What's the deal with that, Kiev?
Well, I'm not exactly a Packers insider, but I do I do get the notifications when Schefter and Ian Rappaport tweet, because it's good for sports betting, obviously. And I tell you right now, it doesn't surprise me because you've heard whispers of it. He's saying he does not want to play for them. Now the Packers can hold their ground and just let him sit there and let him go to practice and pay them, or if he sits out, he's going to miss out on money. I don't think that's going to be good for either side. That always just ends up really being ugly and messy. I think they might eventually have to try to trade him here. And I don't think this is all smokescreen. A lot of people, I've noticed, I have a lot of friends that are Packer fans being from the Midwest, and some of them are saying, no, it's not true. Aaron Rodgers just said that he wants to be a Packer. Of course he's going to say that on TV, that he wants to be a Packer. But Schefter reported that the team president, the general manager, and Coach LaFleur all took separate, at different times, private flights to Aaron Rodgers' place to try to talk him into staying. How many? This makes me wonder if he's going to stay, if they're going to draft a wide receiver finally, which what Packer fans have been calling for. I actually had them in my mock draft as picking defense until now, but this is real. And people would speculate San Francisco, and they need a quarterback, and that makes sense. But has he ended the bitterness with them? Because he went to Cal and he wanted to be drafted by San Fran, and they blew him over for somebody else. Can't remember who it was offhand, but this is good for Bears fans, obviously, to see that, because we're just a sorry team that takes pride in everybody else's misery, because that's all we got as Bears fans, unfortunately. But it's big news because he's such a big name quarterback. So as far as the draft, they did draft Jordan Love last year, so I'm not sure if they're in a hurry to make a move or something. But if they're going to get a number 2 draft pick, maybe that's a move they want to make. It's almost kind of giving up on your first round draft pick last year, though, that you did with Love. So I don't see any moves happening just today yet.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me. I have to say, the notes that I took here last night getting ready for doing this video, which would have been done earlier, but at least we got to get it done. The notes that I took last night, one of my favorite plays was going to be Packers under. Fortunately, I didn't bet hardly any money on that. I'll probably eat the loss on the little bit that I did bet on that one, but I got plus money at Bookmaker last night. Was pretty proud of myself at the time, and now I can't give that out. With all these kinds of.
You said under. I think you meant defense.
I meant defense. Yeah, I meant defense. Yeah. So under some of the other bets that I have, but I had defense for the first round for Green Bay. So, I'd right now, why would you want to bet that? So obviously things change. One thing I did want to say, Kiev, what are some of the things that you do as far as your strategy on betting NFL draft day? Because I think one thing that's important for people to keep in mind is that there are tons of rumors. Tons of people who really don't know things that just kind of want to get news. Who do you pay attention to? Who do you not pay attention to? What's your strategy for betting NFL draft every single year?
Well, what I like to do just as a sports bettor is I like to I study the quarterbacks first because they're actually the people that move the lines a lot more per team on a per team basis. Wide receivers don't, offensive linemen don't, individual defensive players don't. I mean, if you put Aaron Donald on the Lions, is that going to move them a half point or a point? Not just him. It'd be a couple other players to do something like that. Maybe you'd shade towards the under in some of those bets. But quarterbacks are the most important. So I do my quarterback rankings where I study what they did. I look at what they did in the pro day. We didn't have a combine this year. I also look what they did under pressure situations. I look at the competition that they have, and the competition took BYU's Wilson from second to third. They had the 104th ranked schedule. I have Justin Fields as number 2. He's completed the most passes out of any of these quarterbacks, 30 plus yards, the most passes. Plus, he's graded pretty well in the combine. 4.4440 speed tells me that he's the guy. And now I don't care about history. Ohio State quarterbacks, Alabama quarterbacks don't make it. Well, this is a changing league now, and quarterbacks are more prone to run the ball and get down when they're running the ball. Fields can do that. So I have him second. But, at the same time, Trey Lance, I only have him 7th personally. And I think that you have to look at the way he played for North Dakota State was fantastic, but their quarterback this year is doing just as good. It's North Dakota State. They're the Alabama, the FCS, yet they're not even FBS. There's no way I could trust Trey Lance to be a 3rd or 4th quarterback here. I don't care what skill sets you have. I mean, this has happened before. You've seen the people like the Bears draft Ryan Pace. Think he's going to be something great. Carson Wentz, he was good for a little while, but he was stacked on that Eagles team. Now the Eagles gave up on him, So I think there's a big difference between what these mock draft guys are saying and what should really happen in people's minds. In saying that doesn't mean that Trey Lance is not going to get picked up, because what your idea is not what the GM does. I do my mock draft based on what I think teams need, which helps me prep for them. It's not just prepping for the draft. It helps me prep for them. And then I kind of look at what the other mocks are saying and some of the inside information. Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio, I listen to him every day, at least 2 weeks before the draft. He has a great podcast there with Chris. And they have a lot of guys that they're connected to in the NFL. And guys like Ross Tucker, there's guys that are actually connected within the in crowds there. So that's important to find out some of that information, but not even they know what the Niners are going to do, for example. And for me, the Niners have been really weird. They're releasing information that they don't have to release. You would think that they know who they're going to get being number 3 already. Why is there still speculation? Why are they starting to say, leaking information that they're interested in Lance a little bit too? That you don't make that big a trade unless you know. There's some real big speculation, and we might get into this later, that they might, maybe it's Kyle Pitts or something like that. But in my opinion, and there's another ex-pro football player that coaches with me on our son's baseball league. He thinks it'd be smart for the Niners to get Kyle Pitts, just because why would you postpone something and working on a quarterback when you're ready to win now? It doesn't make any sense to me. Kyle Pitts is 50-1 to be picked in that. I'm not saying to play it, but I'm saying that's interesting to me. So to answer your question, those are some of the things I like to do to prep, but I also have to look at what these GMs will do, because some are very untrustable, like Steve Keim, like Ryan Pace, like Gettleman.
Yeah.
Very, very, very unpredictable guys, and it's hard to bet on some of them, but that's how I get into it. And to be honest with you, we haven't had a year where we lost on the draft. We always were profitable.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to say too, that not every GM is very predictable. So if you want to lay a number, lay juice with someone, you don't want one of these unpredictable general managers. That's where you want to take the plus 500 and take a chance. Having said that, I will say one of my strategies in the NFL draft is it is okay to lay the juice sometimes. Some people, are just kind of immune and say, I can't do the minus 200 ever. I can't do the big numbers. And sometimes that's a good value. And if it really seems like a sure thing, and it's 3 or 4 to 1, sometimes it's still a good bet. So I wouldn't do that in Major League Baseball. I wouldn't do that in college football, college basketball, but this is different. So I think that's important. And one of the guys that I think is pretty connected that does a really good job every year too is Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network guy who's
Mhm.
really done really good with his mock draft. So I pay more attention to his stuff than a lot of other guys. And like I said, you got to remember that these odds swing on every rumor on draft day. So, we want to be careful of reading too much into it. I kind of followed a little bit here today, was watching the odds change for that third pick. Doesn't it kind of feel like Kiev that we just, the first 2 picks, we kind of know what's going to happen, right? And especially
Mhm.
the first pick. And
Yeah.
then it starts with the third pick. So it's going to get fun starting at pick number 3. So,
It
how do you
will.
want to do this? Do you want to talk about maybe a couple of the draft numbers? Let's say uh, Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts. You even hinted that he could get picked third. I see some of the odds out there for who will get picked first. Will it be Pitts or Chase? And I see Pitts is minus 750 on Bookmaker now. I'm sure it wasn't nearly that before. So um, everybody's thinking that Pitts isn't going to slide very far here today. I think it makes sense. He's a really impressive talent, a guy that's not going to come around too often, I don't think, here in the NFL. So, as far as the players drafted highly, in the top 6 or 8, do you have any strong positions, Kiev, as far as over unders?
Um, yeah. Well, first of all, for Pitts, Atlanta. Here's the two sides here. Is Atlanta going to draft Pitts? Well, that's great. Now you have Pitts. Now you have Julio Jones. Now you have a bunch of pass catchers. But when are they going to see the field when your defense can't stop anybody? And that's a point I like to make on a lot of these teams. They're just going to turn into the Houston Texans, or turn into the Raiders. All this offensive power, but they don't see the field because everybody's scoring against them all the time, or everybody's running the ball down their throat, controlling the time of possession, which I think is way more important than one star. Controlling the flow of the game is much more impactful than drafting one star in your league minus the quarterback, maybe. So that's what I always like to say. So, in my opinion, Atlanta should trade back and get some defense because they still can get one of the 4 top guys. I'm also hearing that they're going to trade Julio Jones possibly after the cap switches on June 1st. They get a $15 million cap savings by trading him after June 1st, from what I'm hearing from Mike Florio. So I think that Jamar Chase goes over 5.5. And I know you're a Bengals fan. Obviously, you have the hat on. But here's the thing. This is just my whole opinion on what the heck the Bengals should do. It's the same deal that they are in, with some of the other teams here, like Atlanta. They need to improve their defense. They need to get Joe Burrow on the field. He was great when he was on the field, but he had to do everything, and they overworked him. And now he tore his ACL because A, he was overworked, and B, he was getting hit a lot. His offensive line's not there. And I'd rather draft a defense and trade down or an offensive line and try to keep him on the field a little bit more, maybe establish a running game yourself so you control the time of possession. Here's the thing. Over 5.5 is good because, in my opinion, it would be so bad to already blow it on John Ross. And then all of a sudden you draft T. Higgins at number 33 last year. And then now you're going for a receiver again after you have a franchise quarterback that's going to be running for his life. That's downright embarrassing to draft Chase. I don't care if they played together. That's college. That's a much different league than the NFL. Maybe Jamar Chase was really good in the SEC under Joe Brady and their great, offensive minds over there. But it's different here now. Maybe he's just going to be as good as like a Waddle or possibly somebody else. I say protect him. So I'm taking over 5.5.
Okay, so my comeback to that is, the Bengals are a tough team to figure out for me. I've followed the Bengals and been a fan since I was a kid. Obviously, you're the Bears fan, been I mean, the Bears have won certainly more than the Bengals, so you could make fun of me a lot quicker
Wait,
than I can make
are
fun of you.
are you sure? I was alive for one Super Bowl win, so
Well, I mean, the Bengals haven't won it, so I mean, the
huge
Bengals have
difference
not.
there.
Well, it feels huge, right? How about
Well,
the
okay,
Bengals playoff record? We'll say that the Bengals can't
I'm
win a
not gonna.
playoff
I'm not
game.
gonna. You can stick to the Cleveland fans with "I'm worse than you" argument, I guess, but we're right there as well. Is all I'm trying to say.
Well, you guys aren't too far ahead. So I guess what everybody can tell that's watching is that we're not bandwagon fans. We do stick with our team. The Bengals, to me, they should pick an offensive lineman. They need to pick an offensive lineman. Do I have a lot of confidence that they will? I don't have a ton of confidence here. So I don't love this because I'm afraid of this one. I really am. I feel like the Bengals have messed up so many times before. I don't trust them to do the right thing here. I've heard a lot of people say that Sewell from Oregon is one of the best offensive linemen, especially tackles that they've seen in many years. And I mean, if you think about Burrow, to me, Burrow looked amazing last year. As far as what he had around him in the offensive line, he looks like he could really be a tremendous quarterback in the NFL. So you have to protect him. I totally agree with what you said. It's not that I disagree with what you said at all. I'm just worried that the Bengals might not do what is right for them. I've seen him mess it up so many times. So
That's how I
I
feel.
think that they should pick an offensive lineman. I see the price on Chase right now over under 5.5 at bookmaker plus 194 over. So pretty
Yeah.
good plus price if you like over in that one, almost 2 to 1. So
Well, these books also don't know,
right.
and they look at the correlation between Joe Brady and Chase, which is a massive correlation, but you still drafted T. Higgins. You're still not improving your line. You're still not improving your defense. You know, people think that Brady's going to go to the GM office and bang his fist to draft someone. If that would work, then the Packers would have drafted Aaron Rodgers, a wide receiver, and they interviewed Patrick Mahomes and asked him, and he's probably out of any live quarterback besides Brady should have the most say on who a team's going to draft. He says, if approached, I say I'll give you my opinion. They don't step over their bounds there and tell GMs what to do. So I like the over 5.5 also because there's a chance that Atlanta can trade out of that, and we'll be smart to do that. That's what I'm hoping. Because here, let's face it, Matt Ryan he's 35. I mean, Brady's what, 43, 44 this year? You quarterbacks can now play till they're 40. So why would you draft someone to sit on the bench at that spot? So I think Atlanta might trade back. They might get a nice package to do it. And they did put out some feelers earlier where they're okay with maybe drafting a Devontae Smith at spot 10 for the Cowboys. The Cowboys were talking about, Pitts. But let's say they trade back and somebody drafts a quarterback there. Maybe it's New England. Maybe it's Washington. Maybe it's Detroit even moving from 7. Then you have Kyle Pitts there, which the Bengals might pick Pitts. They might pick Pitts, which pushes your Jamar Chase over 5.5 anyway. So at the plus money, it makes sense to me. If it was minus 110 a piece, I wouldn't have done it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, plus 194 is a pretty big plus price. And to be honest, I'm definitely rooting for you here on this one. I'm not going to bet this one myself, but I'm rooting for you because I hope the Bengals do what's right here in this spot.
Well, good stuff. And I actually gave out Lance at third pick for the Niners at plus 240, and I also gave out Fields at plus 450. It's really interesting that switched to Lance now, so the odds are more in my favor. I still don't have enough meat on the bone to hedge back and grab Mac Jones plus
Yeah,
130 here, but I might later in the day. So
yeah.
I thought that was really interesting, but we can move on.
No, that's an interesting one, and that's two good prices to have. Certainly, hopefully you get one of those. I
Mm-hmm.
think the way things are looking right now, you maybe just be better off to hold with that unless the price gets way better, like you
Mm-hmm.
said. Um, hey, Glenn, thanks for tuning in. Glenn's been a viewer here for quite a
What's up,
while. We
Glenn?
certainly appreciate that. So if anybody has any questions or wants to put their bets or thoughts in the chat, certainly go ahead and do that. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about here. So let's go a little bit deeper. If we go a little bit farther into the first round, I guess one thought I had was I took Horn under 12.5. I think he'll get picked pretty early on. Cornerbacks are really a premium position in the NFL today. I think that it's hard for a really talented cornerback who looks like they project to be a very good player in the NFL to get very deep into it without somebody trading up or trying to grab that player. Run defense isn't as important now as pass defense is. I like Horn under 12 and a half. I'm looking to see what the line is now. Do you have any opinion on that one, Kiev?
You say, and my screen did freeze for a second. Do you say JC Horn under 12
Yeah,
and a half?
Horn under
Okay.
12 and a half.
Okay, well, my juice here is massive at minus 700, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and that's on Bet Online. I can look on DraftKings too, but I like it a lot because Farley's hurt, and
Yeah.
Farley's got those back surgeries, and of course it would take a very, very well, and we talk about it. GMs are very unpredictable and they do stupid things. It'd take a big gamble to pick a guy that just had a second back surgery and he still can't feel his toes right now. And Caleb Farley, plus he took the year off, plus had an MCL tear. So that's just, there's so many strikes against him, moving him to second round. So I do like that. And I think him and Surtain are the best cornerbacks in this draft for sure. And I think they can go 10 through 12 for sure too, because you have the Cowboys there. They need a corner. The Giants are there, right? And then who's at 12? I forgot, but there's a couple teams.
I don't have it right in front of me. I do know that I got minus 140, so that juice is way different. I wouldn't take minus 700. I do wonder if taking Horn to be the first cornerback drafted would make some sense. It's plus 200. I know Surtain is the favorite there. I think there is a chance Horn gets picked before him. So if you want to take it, but you can't lay the minus 700. I wouldn't lay the minus 700.
The
Horn
Eagles
to be the first one. Okay,
the
Eagles. Yeah,
and they're projected to take a corner as well. So there you go. And the Giants might not take a corner. They might take receiver. Devontae's there. I think that they're going to go Micah Parsons, but we'll move into that in a few. I agree. I think that's great odds for you, but I wouldn't take minus 700 now. Right. But instead, what I will do is take under 4.5 cornerbacks selected in the first round. And I got a plus 120. And I think you can still get that just because Caleb Farley can fall down. And I only have 3 to 4 cornerbacks really that have first round grades. Now, there's other positions that are deeper that people are going to have on their draft board than the 4th cornerback there. 5th, especially if you're including Farley in your 4th, right? So I like the under 4.5 at plus 120, and I think that should be a good play.
Okay, so I'll give one that I like too for positions. I like under 6.5 offensive linemen taken in the first round. I know offensive linemen are really important, and some of them are going to get picked pretty high in this draft. But if you look down through there for premium offensive linemen, you kind of feel like, what I look down through these, I think that, Sewell, Slater, Vera Tucker, Darrisaw, who are the 5th and 6th guys that are sure things to be in the first round? I think under 6.5 minus 110 is a good play here. I'm going to be betting this one myself here right after we get done with the video. I don't know if I can do better than minus 110 or not. Minus 110 is what I see here currently, but I think that's a good play. You have any thought on that one, Kiev?
So under 6.5 for offensive line, I have 6 in my mock draft. Okay. And I like it. I'm afraid that they're going to start flying off the board, but here's some good news that I was almost sure that KC was going to draft an offensive lineman until they traded for Brown. And I'm not 100% sure that the Ravens are going to pick one up right away. I think they might, but they also need a receiver too. So I think that helps it out a little bit. I'm just sorry. I'm pulling up my offensive line grades. I think Leatherwood's going to be an interesting one there. And a lot of people have him at 6. Wyatt Davis from Ohio State and Jalen Mayfield are kind of lurking there from Michigan. But there's only according to this CBS mock draft I'm looking at too. I'm looking at my rankings. I have 6 in the first round. And CBS has 5 graded first round. The next one's 41 with Alex Leatherwood and Bama. I actually have Alex Leatherwood in the first round. I like Penny Sewell's number 1. Rashawn Slater, I think he's a number 2. I like how he blocked Chase Young a couple years back. And Vera Tucker's good and Dara Shaw. I actually think Tevin Jenkins is just as good as any of them from Oklahoma State. So I like Tevin Jenkins, but I agree with your pick, Kyle.
Okay. So I like your play too with the cornerbacks. I do think there'll be quite a few cornerbacks taken in the second round here, but your play was in the first round. Um, one other I'll say, and here's one that's laying juice. So I know that some people are going to be thinking, "Wow, what's he doing here?" Micah Parsons to be the first linebacker taken, minus 400. Don't bet a lot on this because I don't want to bet a ton of money on a minus 400. But who else would get picked first? I mean, it would take a Gettleman, type move, a really stunning thing to happen for Parsons to not be the first linebacker taken. I mean, do you see any chance of anybody? Obviously, there's a chance. We have to say that. But um, who is the risk here at Micah Parsons not being taken first? I think Micah Parsons will get picked fairly early on. I kind of like his under for positions as well. I think he has a lot of potential here in the NFL. I know there's been some questions about his off the field issues, and a lot of times in the past we've seen those guys still get picked pretty highly. So I think Parsons has a lot of potential to be a really good player in the NFL.
Yeah, he certainly does. I have Zaven Collins better than him, but that doesn't mean that the GMs see him. Well, I love how he played against Oklahoma State. Really stuffed them that first game versus Tulsa. I watched that game against Tulane where he pretty much won the game for Tulsa, and it was a bad beat for a lot of people when he scored that touchdown at the overtime the opposite way. It was a bad beat because there wasn't a 2-point conversion or extra point. It was stopped at 6. It was really interesting. A lot of people had like 7s and things like that. And so, but the way he won that game, he took it away. But he was a man amongst boys playing for Tulsa, in my opinion. Now, I think that they're going to pick Micah Parsons first, though. I didn't play it. I'm not going to give you any disagreement. I'm just not going to agree. I'm not going to give you agreement. Just 100. I'm just completely neutral.
Fair. Okay. So do you have any others here here in the first round that you like quite a bit?
Yeah, I think that Arizona, and I got minus 150. So shop it around. I put a decent size one that they're going to pick defense. I mean, the way I look at it is that they have a really good offense now, but they need to keep Kyler Murray on the field. And the fact that they let Patrick Peterson walk really tells me that they're a potential cornerback guy too. Now they need a linebacker too, so they can go linebacker, but it's going to be one of those two, I think, in my opinion. Or I wrote that they need defensive line the most because they got run on like by the Rams. The Rams just controlled the time of possession both of their games, and they couldn't get Kyler Murray on the field. So if I was Steve Keim, I would go defensive line, but they also have a hole at cornerback with Patrick Peterson. And if they draft another, offensive player, it just doesn't make sense to me there. I mean, they already have, good running backs there. And I know they let Drake walk, but what's his name? The backup is really good.
Yeah. They have the quick backup that's a kind of change of pace. So I think Arizona will pick a defensive lineman more than likely there in that first pick. Minus 170, the odds currently on Bet Online, Bookmaker, minus 185. That's a pretty big difference there too. It's really important to shop around for these. So,
and I forgot to mention, of course, they have DeAndre Hopkins, but they picked up AJ Green. So,
right.
I mean, Christian Kirk, they already drafted him high. So there's your offense there. Could they get cute and get a lineman? Maybe. But I think there's value there. And Chase Edmonds was who I was trying to say. And they signed James Conner. They also signed James Conner from the Steelers. So that covers your offense. I think there's a lot of value at that minus 150.
Yeah, that makes you question, might the Steelers, I'm getting a little deeper on, might the Steelers be looking for running back here? Because the Steelers are pretty thin at that position now, and usually a team that likes to run. One I wanted to ask you about, Kiev, what do you think the Chargers do in the first round here? What do you have the Chargers pegged as doing?
All right. Well, the Chargers, I have to dig into my mock here. So go ahead.
The Chargers should take an offensive lineman based on what they've had in the past. And, with Herbert, they have a really good quarterback. They need to be able to protect him. It's not unlike the Burrow situation in Cincinnati. Look, you got a great quarterback that looks like he could be a future star. They got to protect him. The Chargers have messed up quite a bit in the first round picks in the past too. So I guess I would say I don't have a lot of confidence in them. I did take minus 130 recently for them to take an offensive lineman with their first pick. It was a small bet. I see minus 180 now, so I don't know that I would take that, but I was kind of curious what your thoughts there for the Chargers.
Yeah, let me get back to that one. For some reason, my site's not is freezing up here where I had my draft, but I thought that I had them picking offensive linemen. So,
Okay.
what were you saying, that you think they go offense or
I'm
defense?
thinking that they should. Well, they should be offense, but offense is minus 275. Instead of
Yeah.
doing that, I took offensive linemen to be their first pick at minus 130.
Okay, I
Now it's up
found
to
it. So
minus 180. Now, I don't know that I love minus 180, so shop around, see if you get a better number than that. The Chargers should pick an offensive lineman here.
Rashawn Slater is who I have. So
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
I totally agree with you there. Sorry it took so long here. Kind of a little hiccup here in my computer, but yeah, no, I love Slater is good, and like I said, he's in my top 5. You can shift him around however you want, but I like that one. I'm going to give out another one too here, Kyle, and I think the Giants are going to go with Parsons. I think that, and I know they're going to be tempted to get a wide receiver, but they just picked up Galladay. They just paid money for that. Paying money for him and then doing that, I just think they're going to go defense. It makes a little bit more sense here. So I could see them going in an edge rusher or Micah Parsons, and I got that at roughly even money. So you can shop that around yourself a little bit. I'll see what the updated odds on that are. Plus 120 even. Yeah. So plus 120 for defense. I'll give that one out, but smaller than the Arizona play. I think that maybe a half unit to a unit's fine on that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I also took myself Saints to take a defensive player at minus 150. Now, I know there's been some rumors around the Saints today and then maybe trading up. This is not a big bet for me, so I don't know. Do you have any opinion on the Saints as to whether they would take defense or offense? They lost a lot free agency wise on defense. It seems
Defense.
to me like they should take a defensive player here, right?
I have Christian Barmore getting selected by the Saints, and a lot of
Okay.
people had Tampa picking them, but I think it's so sweeter for them because they want to block Tampa. Tampa's got everybody anyway. They're just going to pick someone that they think is really good. But Barmore played for Alabama, and they lost a ton of people. They have zero money to sign guys. And if they trade up, they trade up. I don't know who they'd be going for. A quarterback? How much faith do you have in Wilson, Jameis Winston, though? But maybe they do. They made the move for him.
Yeah.
And obviously, they have Taysom Hill there, too. So
Not
they
everybody can
lost.
pick a quarterback, right?
Oh, God, I know, right? They lost defensive tackle Sheldon Jenkins. So they pride themselves on stuff in the run. That's what Sean Payton does. CB Jenkins is gone too. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson. So they're going to go defense. What was the price on that? I like that one.
I got minus 150. Minus 170 is the best I see now. I think minus 170 might still be a decent play. Some people assume if they're going to trade up, there's no way they're going to take a defender. There's certainly a chance that they still want to trade up because they really like somebody. The other thing you could say about the Saints is, Hendrickson's gone, Rankin's gone. They really need some pass rushers, so they need a
Yeah.
lot on the defensive line. This is a team that's really struggling on the defensive front. And, they've been good there the past few years. So it would be a big drop off for the Saints if they don't do something about it. I would think they would probably go that way.
Full disclosure, now that it's off the board, I did give this out as a premium play. And it was a little bit larger than the Arizona play. I picked defense at minus 165. So now that's off the board, I could give that out. But this was a premium play to members.
All right.
So
well, I apologize for bringing that
no,
up there.
no.
We'll give stuff free, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is if it changes, it's not premium anymore. So there you go.
And it's nice because we're thinking alike, so that's good. I like to see that. Hopefully, we're correct on that. I'm going to give you one out that was my favorite play. This is not necessarily first round. Tyson Campbell under 49.5. I bet this minus 140 on Bet Online. This is my single biggest bet I made. I think somebody's going to take a cornerback that's that talented. I think this guy has great tools, really high upside, very high upside. it would surprise me quite a bit if Campbell gets past that point in the draft. So Tyson Campbell under 49.5, my single favorite play that I'm giving out here today. As I said, I haven't bet too many of these for that much money, but this one was a big play for me.
So that's at -200, and I still really like that
Okay.
price. What was it before that we liked betting favorites too? I can't remember. It was another event. Was it the draft of 2020? I don't know. It was something where we talked about that we're not afraid laying it, but I'm trying to remember what it was, Kyle.
I don't think it was
Uh,
the draft. I think
yeah,
about that.
yeah. There's something else that we discussed last year that, but I do agree. I don't like laying juice unless you're playing a money line sport, exactly, and you're doing it like that, or this draft. Yeah, there's tons of value in this juice. I think it's fantastic.
The other thing to point out is that we could talk about this for a while, but we have limited time. Obviously, the NFL draft is a pretty good betting opportunity, and if you look and you hear what the bookmakers say, they're worried about this time. A lot of
There.
people win at the NFL draft, so this is not some setup to where you have no chance of winning. You do your due diligence here. You know what you're doing. You can do very good at this. So I think that
Mhm.
it's a plus EV bet if you're researching it well. So certainly, some people try to stay away from things like this, thinking that it's kind of dangerous. But I think you could make a really good argument that betting on the NFL draft is easier than betting game to game NFL. Week 10, week 11, things like that. The lines are really tight. So I
Right.
think there's some value to be had here. So Kiev, do you have any other thoughts here? Any other things you want to discuss?
So safety is an interesting one. And it's at big plus money. And I don't know if you have any plus money ones, but I want to give out a plus 180. I don't see teams picking safety in the first round. And the reason that is because when there's a big separation between the top and the next tier, like running backs, you got ETN, Williams from North Carolina, and Najee Harris, and the rest are like borderline. I don't even care if they're on my team. Then teams will reach for them because they want them. They don't want the other guy. They're going to move into the end of the first round to do it. But when it comes to this position like safety, I don't see anybody doing that because they can get just as much value or almost as much value from the guy on top in the third and fourth round. So I'm looking at safety. I'm like, why would somebody reach and waste a first round pick when you can get one of those big, deep linemen, when you can get a top defensive tackle, because defensive tackles aren't too deep. There's like 4 or 5 that I want. When you could get a receiver, it just makes no sense to me that they're going to go safety. So I'm going to go under a half a player, and I took it at plus 180. So I think I don't see anybody drafting safety in the first round, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on that, but this isn't a particularly strong class of safeties. Definitely, there's lots of other areas that there's a lot more strengths in that I could definitely see that happening. What was the price you got on that one?
Plus 180.
Plus 180. Okay, so that's a nice plus money one. I think for me, the plus money one that I'm going to take is J.C. Horn to be picked first as cornerbacks at plus 200. So
Okay.
that'll be my plus money one. I think that one should be more of a 50-50 price, and it's plus 200. So obviously, Sertan could be picked first, and I know that, but I'll take Horn. Like I said, Campbell to be picked under 49.5 is my biggest bet. I think you can get better than minus 200 some places, especially if you have DraftKings, FanDuel, places like that. But minus 200, I think, is still a decent play there for him. And as far as other things, I'm looking forward to this, to seeing, how many trades happen. I know there are props on that. Do you have any opinion? If you made any bets on anything like that, Kiev?
No, I
Those
don't
are more
like.
fun. Yeah.
I mean, that would be if you're going to get cute. I mean, that I guess do a small personal play on something. I would say the hype is bigger than what's going to happen. They say they call for chaos, but here's the problem: after the first 5 picks, there's going to be more teams that are looking to trade down than there are to trade up. Because why I didn't get to scout these players. COVID happened. There's nobody on top, like tight ends. There's, just like I said before, Pitts and nobody else, right? I'm not sure about some of these guys. Some of these guys sat out last year. Do I like that? I don't know. So if I'm a team, I want to trade down and get more picks for 2022 or more picks this year because I can't see a big difference between a lot of them. You know, you have 2 or 3 running backs. I say 2, but some people like Williams from North Carolina. And then everybody else, you know, and then your offensive linemen are going to go pretty quick. And I do have it stopping at 6, but they're going to go. And then you're kind of like, if you're a team, I mean, why not trade in the second round if you're not so sure about it? Just like the safety, you know, they have Mooring, Trayvon Mooring from TCU. Who's heard of him before this draft? Trayvon Mooring. You know, there's Richie Grant from UCF is ranked second for a lot of these boards. Javon Holland from Oregon, Andre Cisco from Syracuse. These are your safeties, you know. So I think that there's not going to be as many trades as people think. So maybe take an under prop on it. I haven't done it myself yet, but it's just something to think about.
All right, that's cool. I see we have a viewer here who's a big Jaguars fan. It looks like best quarterback Trevor and best wide receiver Laviska, NFL champs. They got a little ways to go for that. So I think Trevor's going to have a really good. Trevor's going to have a really good pro career, I would think, and they'll certainly be much improved. But it'll be a little ways out before the Jaguars are really serious contenders, I would think. I think maybe they could be a team that has some betting value right away, something like that. We'll see how Urban Meyer does with Jacksonville. That'll be interesting to see coming up. So let's recap here, Kiev. What were some of your favorite plays that we gave out today?
Well, sure. And before we do that, I just want to say Laviska Shenault was a great player coming into the draft last year. It was last year or the year before, but either way, I thought he was fantastic. I do scratch my head a little bit about Urban Meyer. He's a little bit erratic, and I don't like the college offense in the NFL. I don't like that. Is he going to change it? Maybe. But those wide receiver screens and stuff that he runs, you know, being at big colleges like Florida and Ohio State, it's not going to translate as well as people think into the NFL. So maybe Urban Meyer knows that, and maybe he's going to do something. So I am worried about that. The greatest marriage he's going to have is Trevor Lawrence because the kid's a winner. He's got the highest floor out of anybody in this draft, in my opinion. Sure, number 1 pick. So that just between those two, you could get something great here. I am certainly not ready to jump on the bandwagon. And I almost think that if the hype gets too big, I would personally fade the Jaguars and be higher on them the next year. But I mean, looking good so far, right? Trevor Lawrence, new coach. It's always a new hope when that happens. But getting to your question, Kyle, my favorite plays, I guess my most sure plays were the Arizona, the Baltimore picks offense. I like that. I like the first round safety for plus money there. Of course, the New Orleans Saints picking a defense. I really like that. I mean, Jamar Chase is a plus money chance, and I like the plus 150 or whatever. Now you can get better, plus 180, 200, but it's not a guarantee. So I don't know if it's a favorite play of mine, but I just like the fact that there's a shot that Atlanta trades down. So those are my favorites. How about you?
All right, so my favorites are the Tyson Campbell under 49.5 is my single favorite. Saints take a defensive player. We agree on that one, so that's kind of a consensus opinion. I like the offensive lineman under 6.5 in the first round. That would be my top 3. Also agree on your Arizona defensive one. So I think I'll bet that one here to have a little bit more action here as we go into draft night, right? It's fun to track these two. You know, it makes it more fun to have something on the line. I like the NFL draft even without, but when you have a little bit of skin in the game, it's even better. So everybody, we appreciate you tuning in. Better odds. I know we've had a bit of a break here since March Madness. We'll start doing some more stuff with baseball. Kiev, why don't you tell them what they can find over at Odds Breakers?
Yeah, tons of baseball, tons of basketball, hockey. We have it all. New cappers coming in soon too. You know, Chris is doing a great job over there. Dominic, just lots of plays. You know, they take a lot of stuff off my plate I'm preparing for the Kentucky Derby this week, and we're going to have some plays for our premium customers for the Derby, and we'll do a free combination as well as a free play for the Kentucky Derby. I love the Kentucky Derby. I'll be sitting poolside with a mint julep, Kyle, this weekend watching the Derby. It might get a little bit warm though, 90 degrees or so. So maybe I'll have to be in the pool, but we'll see what happens.
All right, and you can check out my stuff at huntersportspicks.com. Good start to the baseball seaseason for me. 3-0 night there last night. Long season. Baseball's a heck of a grind. No grind like Major League Baseball season. So long season ahead, but you can check out my premium packages there. Sign up for the free picks also at huntersportspicks.com. Also, follow us at Better Odds SB, I believe is what the Twitter handle is. We'll be putting out some stuff free there. I'll do some free plays from that account. We'll be doing some stuff to promote that a little bit more as we go forward. A little bit of a break for us after basketball ended, but we'll be picking things up again here. We'll do some of these videos, whether it be both of us or whether it be just one of us doing a video, or maybe we'll have somebody else on with one of us or something. But stay tuned. We'll have some more coming up soon. So everybody enjoy the NFL draft, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.